city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Welcome to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday. Jim Coyle here with you as always. Dustin Schutte sitting in as he does as well. Got plenty to get to today. Brian Evans is going to join us. Let's see. We'll talk to Chris Denari as always from the Pacers. I don't think Matt Taylor is going to be able to join us today from the Colts, but the Big Ten tournament's underway. All the tournaments are underway, Dustin. Basketball tournament time has arrived. It is here. Unfortunately, we can't celebrate it as much covering, but you know what? Screw it. It's the best time of the year, so we will celebrate it. The tournament is in Indiana. It's going to be great. Just going to celebrate that aspect of it. The conference tournaments are underway. You start to see some upsets, some fun, some of these upstarts that start coming around. Rick Pitino's team is hanging around. You got all kinds of storylines, man. Just it's tournament time.
And this is the fun time of year. And even if you're cheering for a team that isn't that great, I think we can all kind of collectively have this enthusiasm that college basketball is playing. We're playing college basketball in March after seeing what happened a year ago. And not only that, we're also seeing, even in the Big Ten right now, which is what we primarily cover, we see them allowing 8,000 fans inside Lucas Oil Stadium. So I know it's not a lot. It's not creating that usually, stadium capacity atmosphere that all these players like to play in front of. But after playing in front of no fans or just our friends and family for most of the season, it's gonna be really fun for these players to have the opportunity to play in front of some fans at Lucas Oil Stadium. And you're right, you never know what can happen. This is March, baby. This is what we're talking about. This is fun. This is the fun time of year.
Well, it's the NCAA tournament is taking place in 7 different areas throughout Indiana. If you go to Visit Indiana, if you want to find all that stuff, there's all kinds of things there you can read, but it's just awesome. Bankers Life Fieldhouse, of course, one of the venues. And the thing is, all these venues are cool in their own way. Bankers Life is probably the greatest pro facility that there is. Simon Scott Assembly Hall. What else do you need to say? Lucas Oil Stadium. For a football venue, it's incredible. And then I have not been in there for basketball. I will be several hours from now. So that's going to be interesting. I don't know that I've been in. I'm trying to think if I've been in a dome since the RCA Dome for basketball. Well, the Hoosier Dome or the Georgia Dome in 2002 may have been the last time I was in a dome for basketball, but they used the entire dome then. Hoosier Dome, they'd cut down like they will be doing here. Mackey Arena, and Mackey Arena there's nothing really special about it, but it's loud. It's the setup is a great setup. I mean, to be honest, it's maybe one of the best setups around. It's 14,000 seats. So you're going to keep that. That's a number that wouldn't fly here. That's not enough seats, but they keep it stays full. It's loud. It's a bowl, so it's loud. So that's pretty cool. The Indiana Farmers Coliseum, that is a cool venue in and of itself, because first of all, the 1957 NBA Finals were held there, Dustin. It's up on the is it the west or northwest side of Indy there, over at the fairgrounds. It doesn't get a lot of recognition because it just sits out there at the fairgrounds, and I'm like, the history in that venue is, besides Hinkle, it's the most historic venue that we have going there, and it's crazy. And I don't know if you've been here or not, but I through my storied media, I was one time I was the media representative for the Pro Bull Riders Tour, the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, and he had a stop in that Coliseum, and a bull somehow got loose and was on the damn concourse, which that's, you talk about it, nuts. That was freaking nuts.
Yeah, that would have happened. I
That's
have been
just
in there
nuts.
once. It was for, I think it was, I've been in there twice. Once for, it was like, I don't know if it was like a cattle show or what it was during a 4-H fair.
Cattle show.
And
There
then
you go.
the other time was at maybe a concert. But it's a cool setup. It's a really cool venue with a lot of history there. It's definitely a
And it's
place, like,
intimate.
it is. And if you want to go and, like, when things open back up and they allow fans, I assume IUPUI basketball tickets are probably not the priciest. I would go and just experience that venue. Just pick a game and spend the $10-$20 and experience that venue, because it does not get enough love. It is a cool place. It's a multi-purpose facility, and it's another historic venue in a place that has so much history in terms of basketball and the venues it has.
Yeah, it really is. To really, man, I just forget about that venue, to be honest with you. And it is. They've continued to update it. The IUPUI Jaguars play their games there. It's a good looking. It's a nice venue. I mean, it's a pretty nice venue. But the creme de la creme, the crown jewel, Hinkle Fieldhouse, man. It would be so cool to be on a team getting to play in Hinkle. I mean, I wish I was getting to go cover a team in Hinkle, but that's not going to be the case this year. That stinks. Yeah, the credentialing is difficult. It's 5 per team, but when you don't have a team that's in the tournament, that makes it even more difficult. So.
Yeah, they put a big old zero on that. You're not going to become
a big old fat goose egg. But it's here and it's going to be cool. They're hitting us up early already. Jennifer, good morning. How are you? Viper, good morning to you. The Minnesota Northwestern game was ugly, as Todd said. Yep, it would be fun to watch. Yeah. Joey Green missed the RCA Dome, Indiana, Kentucky. Wow, that was fun. Yeah, my memory though was the Damon Bailey's senior championship there. I was there for that. 41,000 people, baby. Yeah, that was back in the good old days.
I think before they shut it down, I think didn't Purdue and Indiana play like a weird non-conference game at the RCA Dome one time, like back in the early 2000s? I feel like
maybe because I remember there was a year that they had to reschedule a game because the Big Ten did not have them playing twice, and so they had to do that. So, and I remember the double doors you always had to go through for the double door deal, the system to keep it inflated.
Under your hat or your glasses because it could blow off when you were leaving.
Are there any domes like that left?
I don't. The last one I would think of would be Minnesota. Yeah, but when they had that snow collapse, I think they redid the stadium, didn't they?
Yeah, did it. So, that was an idea that kind of came and went, I guess. The big bubble tops.
Yeah, I don't think there's any others like that.
Yep. Looking forward to talking to Chris Denari later on, and especially Brian Evans. Brian, of course, is one that doesn't mince words. Looking forward to talking to him. Haven't had him on for a while. Then, of course, don't forget tonight after the game of Todd Leary coming to you approximately around 8:40 probably after Indiana's tournament game tonight against – who are they playing? I already forgot. Rutgers. No, I'm just kidding. Rutgers. That's at 6:30 up in Lucas Oil. The shooting sight lines. I haven't been up there yet. Of course, I'll leave after the show. But the shooting sight lines, you talk about those domes, never fun to shoot in. It's always been crazy. New Orleans on the dome.
Oh, New Orleans.
It's a real roof.
Yeah,
it's not a bubble. Remember, because the hurricane took pieces a lot of the roof off. But but that one is one of the oldest domes. It's still, that dude is a grandpa, but man, it's not going anywhere. It's still the king of the castle, and as far as domes go. But sorry, you were going to say in Syracuse. Syracuse actually is a bubble.
Yes,
I think.
Carrier Dome.
Yeah, Joey. The Carrier Dome, I think, is the
Yeah.
But
Well,
that thing's been around for a minute too.
yes, it has. And that's a big multi-purpose to play football there.
And that's up where they get a ton of snow. I would think, why would they put a bubble dome in a place that gets – there had to be a reason because they put it in Minnesota. They put it up in New York. I mean, even why would you put it where you could get snow like that?
That is a good point.
But, yeah, oh, well, that's curious to talk about. But thanks, guys. We appreciate that. Let's see.
Well,
because of the large open area, Lucas Oil, maybe I'll hit that later. What's that?
I was going to say you're talking about the shooting sight line. Well, let me tell you, maybe that will be helpful for Indiana. They haven't been able to shoot in a real basketball venue, so maybe throwing it off a little bit will help their shooting woes this season. Maybe they'll find some luck.
Kind of what Tim said. Because of the large open area in Lucas, maybe IU will be on a level shooting field with other teams.
There you go.
Who knows? There you go. How about this? Open the roof and let the wind blow the ball.
I like that plan.
I just like it for an added element to the game. It doesn't matter if it rains. If it rains, let it rain. That would be something. That'd be old school.
It's like they play that college basketball game they used to on that battleship. Didn't Michigan State and North Carolina a few years ago?
They did that for a couple years until they sunk my battleship. Yeah, that lasted for a couple years. So Joey must be, I think he's talking about the Syracuse Dome. So opened up in 1980. Man, they don't usually last that long. Hell, the Hoosier Dome didn't last, or the RCA Dome, Hoosier Dome and RCA Dome. How long did it actually? It didn't seem like it was there for more than 20 years.
I was going to say 15, because when did the Colts, what was the year the Colts moved?
1984?
So maybe it was close to 30 years.
Huh. Yeah, I don't remember, but I remember going in there. It was just cool to have that. The Hoosier Dome. I hated when they changed it from the Hoosier Dome. That's just a cool name. But, you got to do what you got to do. So let's see. We're almost at break time, so we won't get into any subject. But UNC, Duke, Syracuse, they improved their tournament resumes with wins as the tournament's going on. We'll talk about a lot of the games that are going on. Drexel's in the dance for the first time in 25 years. Oh, here's something fun to talk about. The Illini, Illinois, sent a really tersely worded letter to our old buddy Kevin Warren about a familiar subject, giving the title to Michigan this time instead of not Ohio State, but Michigan. The other big two in the league is given the basketball championship outright, although they did not play the full 20-game slate. It was given to them on a win percentage that did not come until they beat Michigan State in the next to last game. And Illinois plays all 20 games, wins the most games in the league, and does not get a share of the title.
And beat Michigan on their home floor by 23.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. You're listening to us from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Right now at Andy Moore Honda, for $0 down, $185 a month, you can get a 2020 Civic LX lease. That's a bargain, man. Gee whiz, that's giving it to you. Back with more right after this. Hey, we all want more, and no one gives you more for less than Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. I like that. Open the roof. Open the roof. The roof. The roof.
Swapping out my headphones here.
Brian. Let me just text him and see what he wants to join. Did you text him?
Yes, I've texted him.
I'm still here.
I told him you can go ahead and be on at 9:20 if you'd like. You can join at 9:18. We'll most likely be in a break by then.
Yeah.
If you can't find it in your email, let me know, and I will text the link to you.
Perfect. Join now or at 9:39 or both.
There we go.
Hell, he may stay on when we get him on. Who knows? He's a talker. Anything else going on that I'm missing? Stuff that you're working on, or in the football world, or Big Ten?
Well,
What was the high school championship?
What's that?
The high school state championship, wasn't that this week
No. In what?
for high school
For
basketball?
basketball? No.
Yeah.
No. Aren't you covering the regionals? Didn't you just cover sectionals?
We did sectionals, but we haven't gone any further than that.
Well, but after sectionals, you have regionals, then you have semi-states, and then you have the state championship. This is regional. This is regional week. This is just 1 week after sectionals, and then semi-state after that, and then they have to take a break this year because of the NCAA tournament, and then they play the state finals. So they're 3 weeks, 4 weeks from playing the state championships, probably.
The only thing we have from the Big Ten standpoint.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
There we go. Indiana, I wrote a story on Indiana finally making a commitment to football, and because of the restructured contract for Tom Allen, and
class golfing, and a
Michigan
premier
and Tennessee
resort
talking about having
experience
fans.
that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick, West Baden.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Yeah, little wallflowers, man. I can dig on that. Haven't heard them for a minute.
I got them
Welcome
on
back.
record.
You mean a vinyl?
Vinyl,
You
yeah.
mean like a
Vinyl.
Yeah.
I saw them in a concert once down in Louisville, and it was funny because where I was kind of outside of it. I was could see behind the stage and could see them that they were doing their encore, so they all went off together and just stood there. And he was like, "Oh no, just hold on a second, just wait." And they waited till the right moment. Then they made their big move to go back up in there. But joined now by the great one, Brian Evans. How are you, man?
Hey, good morning.
How are you doing, brother?
Oh, not bad. Not bad. How about you?
Cannot complain. Friend Dustin Schutte is here with us as well from Saturday Tradition as we're talking about all things just fun and getting ready for the tournament this week and going up to Indy and just all things that are going on, the buzz that must be going on up there. What's it like in Indy?
Well, I'm up in Carmel, and it just feels like it always does. I don't know. What's going on in Indy?
They've got some tournament down there going on this week and coming up.
I heard about that.
Yeah, something happening down there, but absolutely. But how are things with Brian Evans?
I'm not going to complain at all. I'm excited too. This is different, right? You're going to roll the Big Ten tournament into the NCAA tournament, all in Indianapolis. Crazy.
Yeah, we were just talking about the venues and how nuts it is. These guys, these teams, I don't know that they realize how lucky they are because they're getting to play in some really cool venues. And one of the coolest that they probably don't know is the old Farmers Coliseum over there at the fairgrounds that held the 1957 NBA Finals. Just an intimate arena. Then, of course, you've got Hinkle, Simon Scott. I mean, it's just a cool deal.
Sure is. I did not know that. You just dropped some new knowledge on me. That's cool. I've never been down there to to Farmers.
Yeah, it's IUPUI plays their games there. They've redone it. It's a really intimate venue. It's pretty damn cool. It probably holds, I don't know, Dustin, 10, 11,000. Is it something like that?
I would guess so. It's kind of a bowl arena. It's a really unique setup, especially for the time that it was built. It's a really unique venue. We talk about Hinkle Fieldhouse, but it's like a Mr. Mackey arena almost. The way it's circular and the way it's built. It's just a very unique type of arena.
Yep. So we got that going on. Of course, the Big Ten tournament is already underway with the 4 bottom feeders playing last night. Indiana plays tonight at 6:30 against Rutgers. That's a whole nother story, but actually they're playing for their lives as they have been, seems like, for the last couple of years. But that's where we are right now for that, as they'll take on Rutgers in a game that they'll probably not be favored in, Brian, which is not fun for Indiana fans.
No, it's not. I feel like we've played them 4 times already this year. Does it seem like it to you? I feel like we've already played Rutgers 3 or 4 times.
Yes, it does seem like it. Every other game seems like it's against Rutgers, and it seems like they lose to them every time.
That's right.
It's like Groundhog Day, but they're gonna. The thing is, we can talk about what they need to do, but we've done that every game in, game out. We know what they need to do. They just haven't done it. So that is it's almost pointless to talk about what they need to do in this game to win, isn't it? Or is it?
Well, I'm kind of with you. I mean, how many times have we talked this year, and it's kind of, and then we stopped talking. I feel like it's a broken record. We don't make shots. We don't get easy baskets. We have stretches where we defend really well, and then there's stretches that we don't. And this just hasn't been a lot of fun. And Indiana fans, we've always been great at looking to next season and feeling like there's a lot of reasons to be hopeful and excited. And hey, just wait till next year. I don't know. I don't have that feeling right now.
Yeah, I don't either. And there's a lot of questions and not very many answers. And I don't think many answers are going to be coming soon. So it's like there's no point in getting into all that. But Indiana's got to play tonight. It's the thing I feel for these players is there's nothing they're really playing for. They have no shot to win the tournament. They have no shot to get into the NCAA tournament. They're not going to go to the NIT. They're not playing for anything other than pride. And I haven't seen them do that a lot this year. So that's kind of worrisome.
Yeah, you said it. I'm a locker room kind of guy. Like I know I've said that to you already. We just don't know what's being said in the locker room, and this is a great example of that. Like I really do. I wish I could be a fly on the wall and hear the pregame and try to get a better understanding of what they're playing for. And internally, what are they talking about? How are they trying to get themselves amped up and ready to play? I have no idea.
I did ask that question to Trace Jackson Davis yesterday in a presser with him. And I mean, he just was matter of fact that we've dug ourselves into a hole and we have to dig ourselves out, which is truth. But how are they going to do that? Do they have a path for doing that? And that's been the question is having a path for achievement. And I just haven't seen that path because it's been one that's had roadblocks all year. So it seems like they don't ever try to go in a different direction, so they just keep running into the same walls.
Yeah. I mean, I see that, and these guys care, and for whatever reason, it just hasn't clicked. I mean, I don't know that did they have a 2 or 3 game winning streak at some point in time? I mean, they've just never had that look like, hey, we're getting over the hump here. We revert right back to what we've been seeing all season long, and it appears as if we're in our toughest stretch, and that's not a good time. The last 3 or 4 weeks has been their worst stretch of basketball. That's a bad recipe.
Yeah, getting bad at the end of the season. They had not won more than 2 games during the season in a row. Hadn't lost more than 2 during the season, but now they're currently on a 5-game losing streak as they head into the Big Ten tournament.
Is that what it is? 5 games? Oh, brother. Yeah. Yeah, it's not. I mean, I just saw, Purdue's on a winning streak. It looked like Ohio State's a little bit of a losing streak, but they've been playing good teams. It's you just get the feeling that this is the end of our season. I don't know what to say.
And it is, and that's what I feel for these players, because man, how in the world mentally you go into that? It's a tough stretch, but it's not like we expected something different from them this week. So it's like pack it away, and what do you do next? So I'll let them deal with that, because those are questions that have answers that we don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but or if that's an area that you can even go into right now. But I don't know where they're going to go after the season or what they're going to do. But it's a weird, different place than it seems like it's been in past situations with different coaches. This is a different one.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I get asked all the time, and people ask me not like they think I've got an answer, but they just like to talk about it. And so the love for the program is there. It's alive and well. I'm telling you, like this time here, people talk and ask about it all the time, and they're asking about the coach. And certainly, I don't know what's going to happen, but it just doesn't feel. I'm agreeing with you. It's a different and just an awkward feeling, and I don't know. I would be surprised if something did happen.
We'll find out. It's all we can do. Hey, I want to talk about you and Steve Green, and I have never had the opportunity to talk to Steve, and I want to, because I'm from down where he's from. He's from Sellersburg, went to Silver Creek, from Sellersburg, was Bob Knight's first recruit. I went to Floyd Central, which they're one of our schools. It's in the neighbor county, but I've never had the opportunity to meet Steve. I cannot believe that. But anyway, you and Steve have started a business, and Steve has been a dentist right? Is that correct?
Yeah, he was a dentist, and just practicing general dentistry for 33 years. He sold his practice 3 years ago, and he and I have been working on this business. It's called Aurora. It's a specialty sleep clinic, but we've been working on this for several years now.
So it's a specialty sleep clinic. People go there. Do you just have one location now?
Yeah, we're in between the Keystone and the Capitol Malls. And by the way, I can fix that real easy. Steve would love to talk to you. He's a fantastic guy. He's got stories for days. I mean,
I can imagine.
I mean, it's unbelievable. When you think that here's a guy that met Everett Dean, he went to Branch McCracken's camp as a kid.
Oh my God!
He's a young 67, but it blows your mind. Like I feel like Branch McCracken's so old. Steve went to his camp. Like you said, he was the first recruit. They played for Slick Leonard. For the Pacers. I mean, he played ABA for years with the Utah Stars, I believe. I mean, he's just got experiences. So just the other day, Angelo Pizzo came in. Coach Jim Cruz, you remember Jimmy Cruz, one of the greatest guys ever. They were both in the clinic. Came to see us, and we had about a 2-hour basketball chalk talk. He would have loved to be a part of that. But Steve just busts into a story. Angelo Pizzo is a basketball historian, loves it. He told some story. He was asking me if I remember seeing Pistol Pete play, and I said, no, I really don't. I don't think he was playing when I was a kid. And he kind of starts in on how great Pistol Pete was, and somebody back and watched all his films to see how many three-pointers he would have made, see how many points he would have in today's game, because he shot so many deep balls. And Steve busts into some story about going out, and he's in New Orleans, going out to dinner and partying with Steve, Pistol Pete, Hot Rod Hundley, and Slick Leonard. And, had stories for, 2 nights of parties, which, can you imagine that group?
No, because I remember I saw a picture not too long ago of Slick Leonard. He was coaching at halftime. He's got a cigarette in one hand and a bottle of beer in the other hand. So yeah, I cannot even imagine those stories, man.
No, it's good. But hey, we'll fix that. I got to. I'll connect you with Steve. I'll be happy to do that. I'll send you all his information. Honestly, he's a great interview. I mean, he's funny. He's got stories.
Oh.
I mean, just being Coach Knight's first recruit. I mean, if you saw that picture of paper, I don't know when they ran this article a couple weeks ago about us in the company. They had a picture of Steve sitting behind a desk and he's signing his letter of intent. You ought to see Coach Knight. Coach Knight looks like he's 18 years old. It's just hilarious.
We wasn't too far from that, man. Was he?
No, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Was he like in his late 20s? Or
yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
There's another picture. There's another picture of Steve and Coach Knight in Assembly Hall, and there's never been a game played in Assembly Hall. It's brand new. Like, it's not even complete. Like, there's a couple months from its completion when Steve was like his first campus visit. So Steve and Coach Knight are both older than they've been there longer than Assembly Hall. It's hilarious. And this, I mean, I just get a kick out of it because he really is a young 67. When you start putting in perspective, it's like, dang, Steve, you've been around a while, dude.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I cannot wait to meet him. Looking forward to that. And I've looked forward to it for such a long time. But yeah, that was just amazing out there. But so that deal's going good. Aurora Specialty Sleep Clinic. So that's going good for you guys. How long has it been open?
It's going to go great. It's let me give you the background of it. So Steve, his last 5 to 10 years of practice in dentistry, really basically became an expert in space of airway management. So he went to courses and upper airway breathing. So he started helping his patients that either snore or have sleep apnea. And sleep apnea it's a bad disease, man. There's especially during this pandemic, all people that are suffering with underlying conditions and upper airway problems, that people that don't sleep and breathe well at night, they're the ones that are getting hit pretty bad with the COVID-19. And Steve's an expert, again, in the space. And what we did is we took the practice at his dental practice, the patients he was seeing, we just saw such an opportunity, and we wanted to build a business around a business that we could scale and take to other cities. But, again, starting right here in Hoosier, the heartland, and try to help as many people as possible. So we treat snoring and sleep apnea with custom-made oral devices made by a dentist. And we're off to the races, man. We opened the doors October 1st, certainly not the ideal time with, that second wave as it was hitting, but we were ready to open back in April. And so, it slowed us down and it kept us from getting going. But so far, so good. We're seeing a lot of people every day. Our books are full. I'm trying to hire a couple more coordinators that help make these devices, that assist Steve, basically. And we're growing. So we've got a pretty cool business plan, and we're executing it, and we feel pretty good about it. We're seeing a lot of people. I mean, once the word gets out, it's gonna be fantastic. And doing stuff like this, I think Steve will help on your show. Certainly, the demographic is there. Your listeners, I'm sure, are demographic, and this article that the Star did, the response to it was unbelievable. I mean, the phones lit up. The gal Dana that wrote it did I think she did a great job of kind of connecting Steve and I to one another.
She's a great writer.
Through basketball. I just saw an email. If you saw the Steve's love letter to basketball, did you catch that yesterday?
I have not. I'll have to pull that up.
They had like Tamika Catchings and Steve and just kind of 5 or 7 different people write a letter to basketball, and they turned it into an article. And Steve told a story that his dad played basketball growing up. Both his brothers played in college. He basically, it was a family affair. And his dad was his high school coach. You probably knew that. But he said his mom was also offered a contract to play in some all-women's league way back when, and it was called the something Redbirds or something, or the Redheads, something Redheads. And, and they offered her a contract, and her boys were all little at the time. Said no. Steve's mom was like 6'1", 6'2", and apparently was a baller. And they offered her a contract again, and they're going to dye her hair red. It sounds like a great story. It was in the paper yesterday, and I just saw an email from Dana saying, "Hey, I want to do another interview with you, all about your mom and the Redheads." Like she'd never heard of it. She goes, "That's got to be a story," and I'm sure Steve's got great stories behind it.
Absolutely. Dana, anytime Dana's doing a story, there's something great behind it. I have Dana on here as frequently as possible. She's always doing something great, whether it's about the ABA or a great feature like that. Anytime if she's doing it, it's going to be a good one. But yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to pull that stuff up and look at that. And it's just fun. What else is going on with you guys? How's the family? How's this life in general?
Man, I'm doing all right. I worry about my kids a little bit. I think the pandemic's been really, really tough and challenging on kids. I've got a 3rd grader, a 6th grader, a 9th, and a 10th. And they're all, they all got their own challenges. They all got their own schedule. My son goes every day to school. The girls are every other day. And, 2 of them changed schools this year. One went to high school, one went to middle school. And it's not not your normal experience, right? And that's their friends like they used to. I think this whole thing has been tough on all of us, but I think it's been really tough for kids.
Yeah, that's one area I had not thought about are the kids that age, but I think it's because they maybe have been least affected, not affected by so I had not thought about them because they were not getting it. I did not think about the mental aspect for those kids. I've been thinking about the kids in high school and college, but man, I never even considered those the smaller kids and how it's affecting them because everything has changed for a second. And of course, I don't have kids that age. So I have a 17-year-old daughter, and I know that it was her senior year, and it would be devastating to me, man, because I loved high school and competing in the sports and all that stuff that went along with that. And to have gotten that would have just sucked because that's some of the great memories you have in life.
No, yeah, I agree. That the kids that all changed schools. The first thing we thought about was the high school seniors last year, right, and the college seniors. That had to be horrible. They all missed their graduation. Not that I had the greatest time of graduation. I didn't even go to my college graduation, but there's a lot that goes into. You get to that spring break, that home stretch. When you're the senior, that's a big, it's a fun time, and you're going out, you're enjoying yourself. And they didn't get to do that. But then I had a 5th grader last year and an 8th grader that were, the oldest at their school, leaving their school, and that last month is a lot of fun for those ages. And they didn't get to do any of that. And then they started to restart in a new school. I mean, I know there's a ton of challenges. We saw some of the, just a little anxiety. It's everything is going to be different. Half of the kids are at school. My 9th grade daughter, it's like one day is A through M, and the next day is N through Z. Her 4 best friends are N through Z. She's never seen them at school. She's never seen them at school. And it's bizarre, right? I mean, it's so different.
Yeah, it is, man. Brian, I cannot thank you enough. You're going to be at the game tonight, so I know we're going to be at the Tap on Mass Ave afterwards, so I have a suspicion we may see you there. But Indiana taking on Rutgers at 6:30 for, basically playing for their life. I don't know what they're really playing for, but they're playing Rutgers at 6:30, so we'll leave it at that. But I'll look forward to seeing you, hopefully, man.
They're either playing for their life or they're playing for nothing. Which one is it? Come on. They can't be either playing for their life or playing for nothing.
Yeah, it's like I don't even know anymore. It's almost like roll the dice and see what do we got here, or shake up the magic eight ball. I think
man,
I think that's where we are.
Have me on, man. Anytime you holler, I'm going to send over Steve's contact information. You got to get on the phone with him.
I cannot wait. Looking forward to it, brother. Thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, bub.
Thank you, sir. There's the great Brian Evans joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Thursday. Brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. You know, you can get a 2020 Civic LX lease, 0 down, $185 a month. Man, that's lunch money for a lot of people, man. Not me, but that's lunch money for Dustin Schutte. Man, you'd be tooling around.
I wish.
I hear you. Hey, we got to take a break because we're a little over, but that's okay. We got to talk to Brian. We'll be back, and then later on, we'll be talking to Chris Denari as the Pacers continue to chug along, getting closer and closer to LeVert, and he's about to return, I think. He's getting close. They need him. We'll talk about that later on. You're listening to us from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back right after this.
Welcome to your extraordinary
Okay,
destination.
I get it.
French Lick.
I get tired of listening to commercials. That's what I'm already tired of listening to. That damn music. Do, 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 do. That needs to go. I gotta change.
I gotta hop out and come back in. The sound for me is off, so I'm gonna hop out and hop back in.
Okay. I am going to have to change. William?
What you will get it.
Yeah.
What? Like when the show runs on your station, what runs when the commercials run?
Just
There you
PSA.
go.
Or I think we put in PSA announcements.
Okay. So, because I need to record like PSA type things for these people, because that's what you do. They're called grants. You just say that they're grants or whatever, because that's the same thing we did in high school for the high school station. We couldn't have commercials, but we could have grants.
Yeah.
It's basically you're reading the commercial, but there's what can you not say?
You can't have any call to action, so you can't tell people to go down to
Like this
Andy
good.
Moore Honda. You can't have any call to action.
It's
You can
just
tell people about the business.
brought to you by, or sponsored by, brought to you by, and a phone number.
Yeah. For more information, you can contact blah blah blah.
Or
blah,
Andy or a web address, AndyMooreHonda.com.
blah. Mhm.
There you go. Yeah, I gotta cut some of those. And what I was thinking is you need to take your ass down to some of those places and you could be selling grants to this.
I was wondering, are you related to the Coil Automotive? No.
Nope.
Just spelled the same.
Oh, and I've known them my whole life because they went to Providence. I went to Floyd Central.
Yeah.
That's not a super common name, but I don't know where they're originally from. My dad is originally from. I've traced it back like 7 generations, and I think they came 1776. It stops. That was like the first one. So I don't know if that's when we came from Ireland, because I can't find anything before that, but it came down through Virginia, which was part of Kentucky then. Kentucky was part of Virginia then. But so they're all like, I can go back 7 generations, but I can't get past that one. Damn Irish slugs. No, I'm kidding. Irish. Indiana has 3 All-Americans coming back. First time since 1946. We must not be talking about Indiana men's
This segment
basketball.
is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
I know what you're thinking. I don't need your reasons. Don't tell me 'cause it hurts.
Oh, that's what Archie was saying when he looked at the tournament selection committee. Yes, don't tell me because it hurts that Indiana is not playing. I don't expect them to play in any postseason now. I don't. After talking to people, I don't expect them to be going to the NIT. I thought that they might, but that's man. I don't even know if that comes to be. What does that say about Archie Miller? If you have a coach, and I don't know, it's.
Well, I thought you brought up a good point. I know you talked about this the last couple post-game shows with Todd, is that, you know, if you were the coach, if you had your mentality, you'd go to the NIT and play the freshmen, play some of those younger guys, get them as many minutes and as much experience as possible. But I don't know that that's going to be the case. I mean, I don't know. The way this team has played all season, I don't know what the benefit is. It's not like this is a team that started out struggling and they hit a hot streak and they just fall short. This is a team that they're playing November basketball in March. So it's going to be interesting. I expect that a lot of teams are going to turn down an NIT bid, but I also don't know what kind of cash comes with the NIT. So that could be a driving force in making the decision. You know, schools are strapped for cash, especially athletic departments. So if it comes with a check, if it comes with some money, and I don't know enough about that, then we may see some teams actually accept that bid, even though there's been a lot of talk of teams maybe just saying, you know what, we're going to sit this one out, send our kids, you know, so they don't have to stay on campus or be in this bubble-like situation for another month.
That's the one thing that besides the freshmen playing, the money. But how much money are you getting for playing in the NIT?
Right. It can't be a lot.
Oh, then you've got your expenses. It's probably a wash.
That's a good point.
At best case scenario. And it's probably not a wash for bigger teams like Indiana. So yeah, it's going to be, but that's also telling to me. It's when I was with Brian and I said, this is a weird situation, because it is. If you don't dump him now, what the hell are you saying? That we're giving him another year to see if he turns it around? Because that ship has freaking sailed for me. That ship sailed for me a year ago. I was arguing with people a year ago. I mean, like I said, all that Facebook stuff, but even the fan sites, you know, they're all been, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's don't worry. Archie's great. He's a great coach. No, he's not. He wasn't. I mean, a year ago, about right now, I remember being at Yogi's when Bob Knight returned, and someone who was a part of one of those fan groups was there, and we got discussing it. And I said everything now that's going on now, then a year ago. I said he can't recruit. I said the people are coming to play for Indiana, not for Archie Miller. I said he cannot get anybody from outside of the state, which that tells me a lot. That tells me he cannot get anybody to come play for him. The team is not improving. You can look at the downward trend. There's no player development. I went on and on and on. It was evident to me then, because that was already 2 years in. You're like, wait a minute, it's flatline. And then I saw the recruiting, because I was looking ahead at the big guy situation that they're about to be in. I had to go back to the shows several months ago that I was talking about, man, they're going to be in gigantic trouble. And well, now here we are. They're going to be in gigantic trouble because of that. It's all part of that. And this has not changed. This is what's killing me. We're not seeing something different ever with him. So I don't understand why this has not been the call for quite a while, but because sometimes I know things have to take time to work out. Right. But brother, when you see it's on a downhill slide and it's still going in that direction, it's not. You're not going to turn around and come uphill.
Well, the thing to me is, I don't know. I don't follow the recruiting enough to know this, but to me, it's almost like there's too many cooks in the kitchen. Like you can recruit great players, but the skill set, like I don't see Indiana have, outside of Race Thompson, I don't see them have really any role players. There is nobody that goes in and says, you know what, I'm going to be the rebounder. I'm going to be the defensive guy. You mean like
Justin Smith, who's playing at Arkansas right now?
There you go. See, but you don't have those guys. It doesn't seem like there's a chemistry there. Like you look at other teams, there's an acceptance, like I'm going to take on this role. This is my specialty, or I'm going to chip in. But you have to have a team chemistry to have that, and I just don't see that from this team, and I haven't seen it in 4 years. So I don't know so much. I know you talk about recruiting. I don't know so much it's a recruiting problem as much as Archie cannot get any team he's had to be a cohesive unit. And then ultimately what happens is you look at guys, Trace Jackson Davis, who could have tremendous upside, Romeo Langford, who could have had tremendous upside. You see them not develop, and then eventually your recruiting is going to fall off because those guys aren't getting selected. Both those guys should have been top 10 picks. I don't remember what Romeo Langford was, but he was a top 5
12
projection. But he could have been a top 3 pick. And he just did not have a great season. And you say the same about Trace Jackson Davis. We talk about his athleticism. If he's able to step out in a jump shot, I mean, that guy, there's going to be teams banging down the door to get to that guy. But he hasn't done anything. He's a good player. He's a great player with tremendous upside. He just hasn't improved the areas he needs to improve. And to me, that's not necessarily on him. That's on the coaching staff. So again, I've talked about this multiple times. But to me, it's not so much the recruiting. It's just you can't get a cohesive unit. You can't get those role players. And when you see so many other teams around the Big Ten, I mean, look at Wisconsin. They probably have one of the 4 worst rosters in terms of player for player. But when you play as a unit, everybody knows their role, and you can hit shots occasionally. They're not a great team, but they're going to be in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and guess who else is? Demezy Anderson is going to play in the Big Ten tournament, which is odd. I mean, he was a player that should not have been recruited here, for one, because that's why Aaron Henry went to Michigan State. So there you go for that. That was a nice trade, wasn't it? But yeah, the development, it's a combination of the recruiting. You're right. They've had the recruits, but there's no player development. But they've also missed out on several recruits that they didn't get or didn't recruit. And that is another thing. Archie, and if you don't have player development, you damn well better have elite talent across the board. And that elite talent is not here. But I really, really wonder, and I've talked about this before, if there's just not regression with some of these guys. I mean, God dang it. The shooting cannot get worse, and it has. I've never seen a group get worse. And that happens under Archie Miller. And I don't know why. I'm not going to pretend I have the answer. But if I had to guess, it's because it is such a scripted, rigid environment that the focus is such on following this script that you lose track of your game, of just doing some of the individual things. You're afraid to step out of that script to do those individual things, and it hems you in, and it's just ridiculous. I've been saying it for a freaking year. He's a systems coach, and he's relying on this system and not coaching players. And it's because he can't, because there's no way in hell, if he could have, he wouldn't have over 4 years, because he simply sucked for 4 years straight.
And you look at, I mean, all you have to do really is look at the stats look at the stats for Michigan State in the Michigan State loss, and look at the stats for Purdue in the Purdue loss. And you go 0-2 in those games, and you look at how poorly those teams played. It wasn't like either team was knocking down 50% of their 3-point shots and getting to the foul line while they did in the Michigan State game. But you know what I'm saying? And the fact that it wasn't like these guys were shooting lights out. Both teams did not play well. And Indiana they had a shot against Michigan State, but they really didn't have much of a chance down the stretch against Purdue. So, I mean, I don't know what you do, but when you talk about players playing at a level or regressing, having no chemistry, when you look at those 2 box scores and you can't win one of those games, that's a problem.
Absolutely. Michigan State is a great example of a team that struggled all year long with injuries and COVID and this and that. And they had to play their way into the tournament. And they did that by winning games at the end of the year, winning games they had to win, and then going out and upsetting the best team in the conference, arguably Michigan. And that's how they played their way in. Duke, they were left for dead. They may not get in, but they just beat Louisville last night. They've got a chance to play their way in, man. That's what good teams do. Minnesota won last night. There you go. There's a road win, I guess, for Minnesota. Can Minnesota somehow play their way in? We'll certainly see. Man, it's just getting heartbreaking to talk about it. Hey, we got Chris Denari going to come up next, so we'll talk about the Pacers and a little bit better, see what they're doing. See how close we are to getting Chris Levert coming back. But speaking of Bob Slick Leonard, man, some great stories there. Every time I hear him, he's just boom, baby. He's a great one. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. We're back with more right after this.
Hey, we all want more, and no one gives you more for less than Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. And right now, Andy Moore Honda is having their first ever 0% sales event. That's right, you get 0% APR financing on a brand new Honda from Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer, Andy Moore Honda. Andy Moore Honda.
When do the Pacers play again? They've been on All-Star break.
Tomorrow.
Oh, do they really?
In L.A.
I guess I'm going to miss that. Damn, I'm going to have to record that game.
Let's see. One. Oh, no.
Oh, you know what? They might play late enough. Is it like a 10 o'clock tip?
The Lakers game is a 10:30 tip.
Bam. All right. I can watch a Big Ten tournament and then flip right over to the Pacers. Perfect.
The next two games, because they're out west, they play the Suns on Saturday at 10. Then they go to Denver and play another late one. Then they get to come home. How in the hell?
Before the NCAA tournament starts?
How in the hell are they playing on March 17th at home?
Because the NCAA tournament doesn't start till Friday.
Oh.
They're doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday this year.
I wonder if that's why they changed that. Hey, Chris, how are you, brother?
Good.
We're just looking at the Pacers' upcoming brutal schedule.
Yeah, late nights for us, and it,
Yeah.
10:30 tips.
We were just talking about that. Dustin was enjoying that because he gets to watch them after the tournament games.
Oh yeah, I mean it's good for fans. I mean, for us as broadcasters in the Eastern Time Zone, I'm used to doing road games at 7:30 out west, but I'm doing these at 10:30. You got to really figure out how you're gonna. You have to figure out how you're gonna manage sleep and prep. And,
I say this during college football season all the time. Everybody loves the night games. I hate when the Big Ten is the latest game is 3:30. That's my dream scenario because I don't have to wait till 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Well, I used to enjoy the late tips as well until I started doing a post-game show, and now I cannot freaking stand them. Like, damn it, another 9 o'clock tip. But it's better than a 10:30 tip that Chris has coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow.
West Baden, Indiana. You'll find great places to visit, to stay, to dine, and to play. We offer an up-close animal encounter with elephants and giraffes, lodging that is out of this world, world-class golfing, and a premier resort experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick, West Baden.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Welcome back. Golf Club Eagle Point Studios, joined now by our good friend Chris Denari from the Pacers. Chris, how you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Great. Dustin Schutte with me as always as well. Pacers been on a slide of late, and they won out of their last 5 they've lost, or they lost one.
It might even be. I think they've lost 5 of 6. Yeah, it's funny because with the All-Star break, I literally got away from it. For a matter of 4 or 5 days. I read 5 books the last 5 days.
Oh my gosh.
it's it's just nice. It's just nice to not have to, prep and do all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think everybody needed the break. The Pacers got that win against Cleveland. We talked last Thursday. They played Denver, who is a really good team. And, like a lot of the games at home where they've lost 5 straight, they were right in it till the end, just couldn't win the game. So it'll be interesting to see how this road trip starts, because we were talking last week, Lakers, Phoenix, Denver, come home, play Brooklyn, Miami, Milwaukee. I mean, that is a murderer's row to start out. But I think this team hopefully will be refreshed. Maybe they can catch the Lakers off guard a little bit coming back after the first game after the All-Star break. But this will be a true test here in the next week of just what this team is all about.
And now they start this goofy schedule because the tournament play, the Big Ten tournament, has already started here in Indianapolis, although it's over at Lucas Oil. But the West Coast swing, and then just being on the road for so many of their games. After the break, that's great. But man, being on the road a lot, that's probably not going to be their best friend.
No, I mean, everybody knew March was going to be an issue, especially when the NCAA announced that the entire March Madness would be in Indianapolis. And while the Big Ten men are at Lucas Oil Stadium, the women are at Bankers Life Fieldhouse right now. So that's why the Pacers can't be at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. You've got the Big Ten women's tournament going on. And then they'll briefly make a stop in on Wednesday to play Brooklyn. And then March Madness comes back in, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then they come back home and they get a play on Wednesday again. And then they have to go back out because then it's the Sweet 16. And then they come back home and get a game. Then they have to go back out because the Boys State Finals are at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. So, it's something that is going to happen. Pacer Sports and Entertainment is a great partner of Indiana Sports Corporation and the city. So who has to suffer? Well, the basketball end has to suffer. But, this is an important time for our city, an important time for our state. And I know we're, as an organization, we're thrilled to be a part of it. It just, puts the basketball end of it in a tough situation. And for us, from a traveling standpoint, I will be doing the games in Bankers Life Fieldhouse in the studio while all these NCAA games are going on. So we'll be doing games sort of in a back hallway in the studio, and out in the bowl, you'll have all these games going on.
That is just absolutely crazy. It's nuts, especially to think that you'll be with Quinn Buckner, who played in those things. You played college sports as well, so it's just wild to think that's two gigantic entities are going on at the same time but have nothing to do with each other.
Right. But I'll tell you what's different, guys, is if you follow Dave Pasch, who does a lot of ESPN, he's also the radio voice of the Arizona Cardinals. Remember at the end of the NFL season when the 49ers could not play in their stadium and they were playing games at the Cardinal Stadium? Dave Pasch was doing radio games from a studio, the Cardinals and whoever who were on the road, and there was an NFL game going on. He was in the booth calling a game on TV, and there was a game going on the field. So, wow. I mean, COVID has, this pandemic has brought, from a sports standpoint, we've all done so many different things that it's almost the new normal, if you will.
Yeah, it's changed everything that we do as well. So I'm actually benefiting from some of that. Joey had a question here, which I had not really heard about this. Is there anything about Rudy Gobert and Miles Turner? I have not heard anything about that.
No, I haven't. I mean, he must be following a different person than I follow, because I haven't heard one iota about that. And I don't see why either team would make that move. I mean, Utah's, got one of the best records in the NBA. Gobert's a prime factor in that. And I think for the Pacers, I think everybody, and I understand it. I mean, that's what fans do. And when you're 3 games under 500 and you're barely on the line to make it into the play-in situation, fans are trying to scramble to see how do the Pacers get better. I've said this, though. I want to see this group healthy. I want to see what Karis LeVert can add. I I want to see when all entities are together, and then I think you can make a decision. I'm not the front office, so the front office decides what they want to do. But knowing how they operate, they want to know how things can be put together before they would ever blow anything apart.
Yeah, and speaking of Chris LeVert, it looks like getting closer and closer to getting him back. I know that defensively, the Pacers are pretty set, but they could sure use his help offensively.
Yeah, I think he just gives you another person who can break you down off the dribble. I think that's one of the issues when they made the trade to send Victor Oladipo to Houston to get Karis LeVert. Of course, at the time, they did not know he would have a mass on his kidney. But they did it knowing that they would get a player that is very similar to Oladipo, and the fact that you had him under contract for the next 2 years, and that was not the case with Victor. You're already, hearing from Victor, his next move. Will Houston trade him before the March deadline? But what they have then is somebody that they can give the ball to in a crucial situation and can go make a play. That's exactly what TJ Warren can do, and that's what you have in the two-man game with Brogdon and Sabonis. And where the Pacers have gotten locked up a little bit offensively is you only have those two people that you can count on right now to go get you a play. The other players are all good, but they need somebody to help them create to get a play. So that's where Karis LeVert will be big. He's also, 6'6" on the wing, a decent, good defender. He just gives you another body that in this day and age in the NBA, you need wings like Karis LeVert, and the Pacers have, been unfortunate. It's been unfortunate to not have him.
Well, and
tonight, go ahead, Dustin.
I was going to say, in last week we talked about, I know you mentioned Doug McDermott would be a guy more comfortable coming off the bench. TJ McConnell has seen his minutes increase. I think not only do you get scorers and guys who can, cause problems for defenses, but when you have TJ McConnell, the way he plays basketball, I mean, he's going 100 miles an hour every time he's on the floor. So for those minutes to be decreased, I think that would help as well, because you're going to have guys more well rested for each game, as opposed to seeing, what TJ McConnell had to do against Cleveland, that triple-double to get them the win. So to me, that do you kind of see the same thing where if you get more guys playing in a limited role off the bench, that's going to help this team from the health standpoint later down the road as well?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, I think you look at guys like Doug McDermott and Justin Holiday. They've had nice years. I mean, they've had very productive years, but you've had to play them far too many minutes. And then when you dip down to the bench, you're going to the next level of bench player, right? And I think that's been the issue for the Pacers. They've not had consistency in that area. Aaron Holiday hasn't played as well as we saw last year. Edmund Sumner is starting to play well, but again, the caliber of player that you're looking at, while good, is not to the level of the production you would get off the bench from McDermott and Holiday, which then they would replace starters in TJ Warren and Karis LeVert. So it's a stair step where as you keep going down, it's why somebody is the 13th, 14th, or 15th player on the roster. All of a sudden, you have to elevate them to the top 10. And while they can help you on occasion, it's not something that they can really be consistent with.
Yeah, look at the Pacers have been better on the road than they have been at home. I don't want to say substantially, but they're 7-11 at home. But also, I look at they're just a couple. They're probably a Chris LeVert away from being in the top 4 of the Eastern Conference, having had him for those games where they were going on this stretch of losing 5 out of 6. Man, having him there, it's just that little bit of difference between being in the top 4 or 5 in the conference.
Yeah, I think the difference between 4 and 12 is like 2.5 games. So that was the issue. Is the Pacers a few weeks ago, if you remember, it was a Friday night. They were playing Boston, and they were in 4th place in the Eastern Conference. By Monday, after losing 2 games, they had dropped to 9th. That's how bunched up the Eastern Conference is and was. And that's why even if you stub your toe early in this trip, and let's say you fall 5 or 6 games under 500, you're still not out of it. because you still have a bulk of your home games coming up in April and May. Your schedule is a little bit more favorable. And even if you lose those games, you may only be a couple of games out of a playoff spot. So I just think that's the nature of it. And Jim, to your point, I think home court advantage hasn't been a factor, just like you've seen in college basketball, in the NBA, because you don't have crowds, you don't have fans.
It's funny.
Even though you have a couple thousand fans or 3,000 fans at Bankers Life Fieldhouse, it's not like having 16,000 or 17,000. So I think home teams are winning at like a 51 or 52% clip in the NBA. Normally, that's somewhere between 58 and 63%. So that's a significant drop in teams winning on their home floor.
Yeah, I mean, you can just go down and look. The top teams winning at home substantially, and on the road they're either winning or 500, and it just numerically just goes down and does that. But yeah, you're right. It's been a great one. So you get to deal with LeBron James tonight and the Lakers, but unfortunately you have to wait very late to do that. Man, gee whiz, you won't even get to the end of the game how long does the NBA game last? Is it 2 hours? Can they keep them 2 hours?
2.5. It'll be 1 o'clock by the time the game is over, and then with the post game, it'll be over about 1:30 or 1:40. I said this, and I'm traditionally somebody that goes to bed late. I'm not a guy that's in bed by 10 or 10:30. But the other night, we went to bed early, and it was like 10:45, and I told my wife, I go, do you realize that next Friday I'll just be starting a telecast in my head?
Yes.
So part of it is you just have to manage your day a little bit differently. I'll probably get up at the same time, do my work, do my prep. I've got to go down early to have a COVID test because we get COVID tested every day that we have a game, and the COVID test is between 3 and 6. So I'll go down at 3, about 25 minutes for me, drive down, drive home. And then, I'll be able to hang out here until about 8 o'clock, and then I'll drive down about 8:30, and, we'll do the game. So we'll do that on Friday night. We'll do that on Saturday. And then Monday night's game's a little bit early. I think it's a 9 o'clock start since it's in Denver.
Do you? I haven't gotten, because I've been running around doing my own stuff. Do you get to interact with Slick much on the broadcasts?
No, not really. I mean, he just does the radio stuff, and we haven't really done anything with him on television. At least we're still, Mark and Pat Boylan are able to utilize him on radio. With the whole COVID situation, it made absolutely no sense, to bring him down with all the issues that he's had to battle. His health, he's 88 years old, and he and Nancy are still thriving in life, but it didn't make any sense for him to come down to the field house and call games. So he joins Mark in the pregame and at halftime and in the postgame show.
Yeah, I was talking earlier with Brian Evans was on with us, and he, I think, had mentioned, or anyway, I was talking about a great old picture that I saw when Slick was coaching. He was in the locker room. I forget, he may have been talking to George McGinnis, but he's got a cigarette in his hand and he's got a bottle of whatever in his hand, and it's halftime. And I'm just like, God, that is so funny, because that's how it used to be, man. Just lit up and got him a bottle of butter or whatever, and man, it's great.
Yeah,
but
we got to hit a break soon.
Yeah,
one of the great ones.
Times back then.
Absolutely. Chris, I cannot thank you enough. Make sure you guys catch the broadcast tonight with Chris Denari and our good friend Quinn Buckner, former Hoosier as well, man. Chris, have a blast.
All right.
Good luck. Thank you so much. We got to take a quick break as we went a little long, and we'll be back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios.
Hey, we all want more, and no one gives you more for less than Andy Moore.
Yeah. Hooey.
I meant to ask, do the Pacers still have a home winning streak? Finished above 500 every year since 1987 or something ridiculous like that?
Well, that ain't happening now.
Right now,
they're
still a lot of time.
Yeah, they're 7-11. They could turn that around when Levert comes back.
I think they could too. But yeah, plus you get a lot of home games in April, so. Man, I wonder the Patriots had to get a lot of money for that to host the NCAA. I would think. I don't know.
It's funny that I see a reference to the Titanic on the comments, which is funny because I've used that reference before. Where did it start?
Just rearranging the chairs on the Titanic.
Oh, it started with if they made a new movie about Indiana basketball, it would be called the B-Town Titanic.
Probably true.
Or the little train that couldn't. Oh, I see what you did there. I see what you did there. I don't know. Did you see what you did there?
Archie, as a captain, would go down with the ship.
Yeah, let's see.
Oh, he ain't going down. He's
jumping
into the lifeboat.
Groundhog Day. All right, start there.
They're like
Yada.
they're like the Cowboys from the Little Giants.
What?
Do you remember Little Giants? That team that was like youth Pee Wee football, and the team was loaded with all this talent. Loaded with all this talent, and they had to play these scrums. these kids that had no talent, and obviously the kids with no talent end up winning the game.
Oh man. What are they going to do? I think they do nothing, unfortunately.
Play. We offer an up-close animal encounter with elephants and giraffes, lodging that is out of this world, world-class golfing, and a premier resort experience that is waiting for you.
God, I got to go to Indianapolis. I got to
French Lick West Bay.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you. Here's Dustin Schutte, closing things out today. Some comments. If they made a movie about Indiana basketball, it would be called the B-Town Titanic. Or Mike says it's the little train that couldn't. So Archie as captain would go down with his ship. I don't know. The obvious choice would be Groundhog Day from Joey. That seems the most appropriate yet. Archie skips out before the ship goes down. But nah, even in Groundhog Day, Bill Murray realized he needed a change, so that doesn't work.
This is great.
Let's see. But I use the funny thing is, I used that Titanic analogy sometime back. But if Archie was the captain and he had a warning that they were going to hit an iceberg, he would not change course.
He would say, "We're still going that way."
He would just go at it. Do not change course. This is our plotted course. Do not change course. They would hit the iceberg on purpose. I believe that. And just hit it. We say just hit it, and we'll split it. That would be.
He'd blame it on the guys, chucking the coal into the fire.
Then when it ripped this hole in his side, it was, it's faulty or whatever. But yeah, there's not gonna be change. Are you kidding me? Yeah, Slick Leonard was the guy, man. Boom, baby. He's just a classic. I mean, he's the throwback of throwbacks. Who is Chris Levert? Well, he is the guy that they traded Victor Oladipo for. He's been out with a cancer situation for the Pacers, and he's the guy that they need back offensively. Let's see. Even if Archie using fire this time, they have to make serious changes inside the program. Well, what changes would those be inside the program? I'm not sure that there is no inside the program. The coach is the inside of the program. I mean, unless you're talking about the athletics program. But the coach is the basketball program.
I think that there's how do I want to say this? There's a thought about the mentality, maybe the player's mentality, but I think that would change with a coaching change. Because I was going to mention this.
Culture. It's called culture.
So
or the
that's
lack thereof.
That's what I think that they were hinting at. But to go back to the point, I was going to bring this up when you're talking about Michigan State or Indiana. And I know we're short on time here, but the thing to me was Indiana had
good.
all these games against ranked opponents coming up. They had a chance to punch their ticket, make a statement. Michigan State had the same. Michigan State viewed that as an opportunity, and they took advantage. Indiana viewed it as a challenge, and they failed. And that's basically what that boils down to.
Well, they've failed at virtually every challenge of the season. I mean, you can throw up
so had
Iowa.
Michigan State, though. So had Michigan State.
Early on.
Failed.
Right.
Right.
They turned it around. They made you could see challenges, problems they were having, injuries, COVID, but you could see it coming. You could see it. They're working. They're trying to get it dialed in, and then boom, it gets dialed in. With Indiana, there's just no change. It's just the Titanic going straight ahead for an iceberg, and it's not going to change course. There is no changing course, and that is the most befuddling thing of all when you know it doesn't work. That is, I just have to say, it's an inability to make a change at that point. You don't know how to. But also, you don't have the personnel now, but that's your fault. The reason Justin Smith is playing in the tournament in Arkansas, that's your fault. The reason you got Demezi playing in the tournament instead of having Aaron Henry on your team for Michigan State is your fault. The reason that Nigel Pack is at Kansas State is your fault. I can go on and on and on. It's just, it's crazy, but it is what it is, and that's why that's just a beating a dead horse. That's not going to change. What will change? That's the question, and the answer that we don't have, or the answer to the question we don't have. Is there going to be a change? I don't know that. I really, truly don't. But I know that if they don't, I don't. The situation then becomes worse than at any time I can remember. Worse than at the end of Crean, I think. I mean,
for sure.
It was bad, but this is just at least with Crean, you had peaks and some really high peaks. Hell, you had 2 Big Ten titles, a number one rank. This is a straight nosedive off of a cliff into a damn pile of rocks.
Right. I think the mentality, to at least from what I saw from outside looking in, is when Tom Crean was there, it was kind of like, all right, he's taken us as high as we're going to go. This is probably our ceiling. We're not going to win we're not going to get to a Final Four. We're not going to win an NCAA championship with him as the head coach. I think he could have been okay. Like, I think they would have still made the NCAA tournament, but the goal at Indiana is not to make the NCAA tournament. The goal is to get to the Final Four. The goal is to win an NCAA championship, to hang that 6th banner. But you probably weren't gonna get that with him. But you're definitely that's out the window right now. You're not even making the NCAA tournament. You're not even on the bubble. So, I mean, I think that it's far worse right now than it is than it was with Tom Crean at the end.
Yep, absolutely. So, shards of glass, not rocks. Yeah, that's probably more like it. Yeah. Well, there's an optimistic look. The new season starts tonight. Let's see if there's any change in player or coaching. What? Yeah, I got money. I got all the money you want on that. There's not going to be any changes. What changes?
Well, maybe the new season is that they lose tonight, and then you see a change tomorrow morning. That could be.
That's not happening.
You never know. You got to jump on it early.
Yes, you do, but that would be the most shocking thing that I have seen to date. You have to have the guy before you do that. and or know that you can get the guy before. I just keep saying this over and over, and there's no way in hell that they can know that because the season is still going on. You're not talking to coaches in season. That is a big time no. Even through back channels, I'm sure that happens a little bit, gauging interest.
Sure.
But the tournament's going on. You get caught talking to a coach. No, that's not good. We're about out of time for the radio side. And so what you got anything coming up? What you working on?
No, for Indiana fans, I just wrote a story on why Indiana's making a commitment to football.
Why didn't we talk about that?
No, and
we're all jacked up about Archie Miller. It's stupid. I keep saying that. It's taken away from other things. We'll talk about it in the overtime a little bit real quick. So go ahead and finish up. Go ahead and finish what you're saying.
We've got we've got plenty of Indiana football talk. It's an exciting time. They're starting spring practice. So a lot for Indiana fans. There's a lot going on. I know it's primarily basketball on our site right now. There is some, believe it or not, it's March and we're talking more about Indiana football than we are about Indiana basketball. So check that stuff out. We got plenty of good content.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you guys more than anything, but I cannot thank Dustin enough. I cannot thank Brian Evans and Chris Denari, of course. Make sure you catch him on his broadcast if you have the chance. And stay tuned for the overtime coming up next. But for those of you listening on radio, that's going to wrap it up today. We appreciate you guys. Don't forget, after the game with Todd Leary tonight, as Indiana takes on Rutgers in the Big Ten tournament. That leaves us around 8:30, 8:40. Coming to you live from the Tap on Mass Ave in Indianapolis. Until then, for Dustin, I am Jim Coyle. Wear your mask, do something nice for somebody, and until tonight, I will see you on the radio. Okay, let's see. Let's make this quick because there's not a lot. Boom. What's this? Dolson has a meeting with Miller and gives him a goal for next season. Not met next season, and Miller is gone. That's what Todd Leary says is going to happen. Todd has said that what he sees happening is that's going to happen. I don't know yet. I think that is definitely an option for sure, obviously. But I think that also is something that's fluid. They've lost 6 straight games. They lose tonight. It's 7 straight games. You look over the course of the 4 years, dude, it is a straight rock down. This has got to be they were percentage points worse this year than last year, even though they finished the same. So it's gone down every year. That's a first for any coach in the 118-year history of Indiana basketball. It's just it is what it is. But it's just a weird situation. They need to do it now, but I don't know that they can. Is the guy they need or want available? And the only 2 people I can think of that are available, one of which I would just jump off the freaking cliff, is Steve Alford, because he probably has an out at any time for Indiana. The other one's Scott Drew, that's been talked about, because his salary is manageable. He only makes $2.7 million. I guarantee he can get out of there. And he was born in Indiana, kind of an Indiana guy, and has had a lot of success. So other than that, I don't think anyone is attainable right now.
Well, that's a great question. And what I would have done if I was Scott Dolson after Indiana was 12-9, and they had a chance. Even if you lose the game you're thought to have lost, they finished 14-12 and won 1 game in the Big Ten tournament. They probably would have been in the NCAA tournament, but that didn't happen. So when Indiana got to 12-12, and I forget who the final 2 games were against, Michigan and Purdue, I think. I know the last game was against Purdue. I would have made a change. That, I mean, I don't know. I know you have to have the guy. I know you can't make a change without having the guy, but I think Indiana can lure somebody in that is a qualified coach. I think they can make that offer. But what I would have liked to have seen is how this team played with a new leader. Take one of the assistant coaches from Archie's staff, make him an interim. It wasn't going to get any worse. Certainly was not going to get any worse.
It ain't going to get any better with those guys, I don't think.
Well, it may not.
But I agree with what you're saying. If it was any of those guys, it would have to be Kenya Hunter. There's no question. Because Tom Ostrom is just a yes man for Archie. I mean, Tom's very nice, but he's just a yes man for Archie. He's been with him for the whole run virtually. So, and then Mike Roberts, yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I don't. So, and at least Kenya Hunter.
Well, I would have last year. I would have liked to have seen, to me, Bruiser Flint is a better head coach than Archie. So I would have liked to. I know he's not on the staff anymore. He went to Kentucky, and I don't know if he would have been a replacement candidate, but I would have liked to see what the team did under him as opposed to what they're doing now. I mean, just even as an interim head coach for a few games, I know that's not possible. We're talking about ifs and buts here, but there's just so much. You have to find other things to talk about because we talk about the same stuff. Will there be a change? Will there not be a change? I mean, at what point next season, if they do come to an agreement, at what point next season do you make a change? Do you play it all the way out? Do you say, you know what, we're 500. This is the same stuff that's been going on. I mean, there's nothing to point to any change. So I don't know why you stick with this guy, but I don't know. The one thing that gives me hope, if I'm an Indiana fan, is the fact that Indiana they paid a ton of money to get new assistant football coaches. They paid a ton of money to restructure Tom Allen's contract. He's a top 6 paid head coach in the Big Ten right now. So I think they might have the capability of buying out Archie and paying that over time and lessening the blow. I don't think he has to get it in one lump sum. So that kind of takes the hindrance off. So I think there is a legitimate shot that especially if they lose in the first round tonight. If they lose to Rutgers, go 0-3 against Rutgers and lose, what is it going to be 6 straight if they lose tonight? I think that you could legitimately see a change. I don't know that they'll hire the right guy, but I'm not ruling it out after what I've seen in the last 5 games.
Forrest asks if Nigel Pack is so much a loss, why didn't Purdue recruit him? Well, because Purdue has 4 freshmen that were freshmen of the week in the Big Ten, and one of those is Jaden Ivey, who is incredible. And they have another incredible recruiting class coming in. They're set at those positions. They don't need him. Indiana needed him. They're not set at that position. As a matter of fact, they still sit with 2 empty scholarships, and it's maddening. It just is. When you see that you need players, you just simply can't get them. And that's just it's sad. All I can do is laugh. Let's see. How can you can't get right another year? Yeah, there you go. Can't get right. That's right. Oh man, that is going to be his new nickname. It started from. I love the movie Life is one of my favorite movies. And there's a character in there called Can't Get Right, and then Todd started calling the Get Right game, where everybody has to have a Get Right game. That's usually playing Nebraska, but Indiana had become a lot of people's Get Right games. Right. So, yeah, the month of May is coming, but I don't know how that good it is. But go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I want to go back to the recruiting thing and the comment about why didn't Purdue recruit certain players. Let me ask you this. This is not a Purdue Indiana thing. This is more, okay, so Matt Painter and Purdue, Michigan, I mean, there are qualities that players have that you say, that's a Purdue guy. That's a Purdue guy. Matt Painter's that's a Purdue guy. Like, you may not see it right away, but that's a guy who he's willing to take a risk. He's willing to play defense. He's willing to improve his game in certain aspects. Can you define and look and say that's an Indiana guy? That's a guy that's going to go to IU. That's a guy that Archie Miller's going to like. To me, it looks like he looks at the star ratings. I don't see a type of player that like. There are certain programs where you're like, that guy's definitely going to that school, or at least there's going to be a type of. Well,
for Indiana, that used to be the shooters.
Right. There used to be a culture. There used to be a type of player Indiana would go after. I don't know what they go after. Like, you don't look at a player and say that guy's definitely going to Indiana. He's got X, Y, and Z. There's no defining it. And I know recruiting is imperfect, but there's certain there just used to be either you were a shooter or you busted your ass every day. We're diving on the floor for loose balls, grabbing 10 rebounds a game. That used to be a thing. And that's not the case. I don't know what the type of Indiana player is right now. I don't know who Archie's looking for other than a 4 or 5 star guy.
Keith March said that he was approached before Archie during AJ's one of AJ's podcasts, which that's a name that would possibly come up again. Because Keith has his coaching has been in the NBA. As well as Calbert Cheney, but Calbert he's with the Pacers now. But I don't know that he's had enough. When I say that when they talk about the IU guy thing, like this Alfred thing is. I saw someone post that. Where was it? Alfred said he had never been approached, but you can tell he really. Of course, he wants the job. It is his dream job. It is his dream job. But no. The thing is, he is the most polarizing name that you will bring up. There are people that really want him, and there are people that absolutely, like me, say no. I say no because, he's been a D1 head coach for 26 seasons. His ceiling is going to the Sweet 16, and that has happened 6 times over those entire 26 years. That's once every 5 years. I just, who's he going to relate to? Why? Because he's good 40 years ago? No, the kids today don't know who he is. Now they might know who Calbert Cheney is. They'll know who Keith Smart is. They'll not from a historical standpoint, but because of, Calbert Cheney is the all-time leading scorer in the Big Ten.
That's true.
He had a successful career in the NBA. That makes a difference. But I don't know. Do you go outside? Because the IU guy thing, it just drives me insane. I couldn't care less about the IU guy thing.
And sometimes that stuff works, and sometimes, you look at, this is a football reference, but look at Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. Look at Scott Frost at Nebraska. Those things don't always work out. It's good to have one of those guys on your bench, to have him as an assistant coach, because typically that tends to help with recruiting, somebody that played there, somebody that knows maybe some of the high school coaches, get you involved in that regard. But you have to find the right guy. You don't have to find an Indiana guy or the Indiana guy. You have to find the right guy. So I don't. To me, Steve Alford, I agree with you. I think Steve Alford is a really good mid-major coach, and if he could make a living out of coaching forever in a lot of different schools, and even in the Big Ten, if he could have stayed at Iowa a long time. I know he wore out his welcome there, but he is not a high-level blue blood coach. They tried that at UCLA, it just didn't work out. And I think Steve Alford is a really good mid-major coach. He's very successful, but when you talk, he's not a guy who can coach Indiana and lead them to the Final Four, in my opinion.
I agree. But hey, who knows? There's so many names that get thrown out. Thad Matta, and it's not that he can't coach. He can, but I'm thinking of a guy that you want to be here, but all at the same time, hell, I'm sure the fans would take 3 or 4 years of anybody that was decent to get the program kind of turned around. See, that's kind of what Tom Crean did. He got it turned, but where they made the mistake was keeping him too long. And that is the coaching mistakes that have been made have been just monumental. Keeping Mike Davis was just a horrible mistake. I know that he went to the championship game and yada, yada. I don't care. You have to have the balls to make the right calls. And they haven't been made. And with Greg Glass, it wasn't about having the balls. It was having the intelligence. What he did was just completely idiotic. I would love to know. I want to have in my hand the data that shows what was looked at, who was looked at, how much they were looked at, and why so little was done. Because there's just no damn way in hell.
And my question
enough research was done.
my question is, you offered this guaranteed contract to Archie, and I don't know why you wouldn't have just walked away and said, okay, I'm not doing this. This is ridiculous. We're going to walk away. We'll go find somebody else. Because I'm sure there would have been plenty of candidates to take that job. So to make that kind of pay, I just don't think that Archie, back then, the hire, I was lukewarm on it. I thought, okay, this could work or it could not work. So a 3 to 4 year deal seemed like we'll run a test run here and see if we need to hire a new coach. But to offer that kind of buyout, that puts you in the situation you're in right now. There is no easy answer, because if you let him go, you're out $10 million unless he lands another head coaching job. Which, if I'm Archie Miller, I'm gonna sit in my house for a couple of years till I collect that money. So it just makes no sense, because he couldn't have been that highly sought after. At least I don't remember it.
Joey points out Painter has a 66% winning percentage versus Alfred's 65%, but Alfred was coaching several times at much smaller schools, Nevada, New Mexico, out in the West, where it's not nearly as challenging. So Matt Painter's been playing with the big boys, and it's taken him a while to. He's getting kind of like Scott Drew at Baylor. Been there a while, but man, here now really, really getting it going. And Matt Painter is about to go on the greatest run that he's ever had at Purdue, I think. He has got, and how stupid does Matt Harms look? What a moron. I already thought he was an idiot to begin with, but what an absolute moron. Where did he transfer to? I know he went out west. What an idiot. Although they gave Gonzaga a little run the other night, but he could be playing on a great team. But look, I'm like, what? So what was the point of that?
That's a great question. Because even Matt Painter said, certain things that were basically talking about Matt Harms' NBA potential on the Dan Dockett show. This was last year, and basically saying, hey, it worked for Jawan Johnson, it worked for AJ Hammons, it worked for Isaac Haas, listing off all the players that it worked for. And so he was a little bit dumbfounded by the decision that Harms made. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not so sure. I don't know. I know Harms was named the Defensive Player of the Year out in the WCC conference, but I'm not so sure, looking on it now, the way Zach Edey has played the last couple games, scoring 40 points in 38 minutes. I'm not so sure Purdue didn't get the better end of that deal, because of
they did.
Because Edey is now going to be, it's not so much about this year, but next year that kid is another year in the weight room, another year on the floor, another year working with that staff. They are in great shape.
Because they had Travion, they didn't lose. Yep. They just bring him in and just give him some. He's not very good, but he causes a lot of freaking problems.
Yep.
Forrest says outside of Beeline, Alfred is the best they can get under these circumstances. I absolutely don't agree with that. Again, Scott Drew is the best they could get under these circumstances, without question. Let's see. Alfred is 124.63 at UCLA, better than Archie. Well, anybody's better than Archie. Archie's just flat out sucks. But he wasn't good enough because he had NBA talent and couldn't get past the Sweet 16. He had a lot of talent at UCLA. So let's not forget that. Let's see. Tim says he got good players. Needs to, yeah, that's not happening. We know that. That's not happening, though. That's the issue. It's not happening. Duke out of the ACC tournament. What? Are you kidding me? Wow. So Duke wins a big game last night, beating Louisville. And if this is true, and I have not heard that. I wonder, that must be. But I'm sure it is. But yep. Wow. That is nuts.
In jeopardy for the NCAA.
Oh, I'd say that pretty much puts an end to that deal. That's all she wrote for that. But hey, that's going to wrap it up for us too. We got to let everybody get going today. And thanks for Dustin for hanging out, and Will for hanging out longer for you guys. We'll be back tonight after the game. Don't forget, subscribe to YouTube, please, because that's where we're eventually going to be. If you're not a subscriber now, please go to there, subscribe, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. May have some special guests there tonight, so expect that. Coming to you from the Tap on Mass Ave in Indianapolis after the Big Ten tournament game with Indiana Rutgers at approximately 8:35, 40, thereabouts. So, guys, thank you, Dustin. Appreciate you. Will, thank you. Thank all of you guys. We appreciate you. Wear your mask. Do something nice for somebody. Until tonight, I will see you on the radio.